All right, chat. Enough of that. Here's another graph from B-Ball Index. And I think that this will be very telling for this upcoming season because we need this to be a thing. All right, so here we go. So this is the most efficient centers when it comes to cutting last season. So we have the most efficiency in cuts. That's when you go up. And then we have the most cuts. So this will be per 75 what their efficiency would look like, and they only do the per 75, so per 75 possessions, just so we can get a good rough estimate of where everyone would line up, because not everyone takes cuts at the same frequency rate, right? So let's see. Let's go ahead and turn this up. All right, so who is Chris Paul gonna get buckets? Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we can see here, which I was not expecting this, but Zach Collins, as far as cutting to the basket, only slightly less cuts than Wemby, but had a much higher, or decently higher, not much higher, but decently higher efficiency rate than Wemby. This is kind of insane because I've watched all these games and I would not have expected Zach Collins to be this high. Chet makes sense, even though his frequency rate is quite a bit lower. Who else makes sense? Lively makes complete sense, obviously. Drew Eubanks makes sense. Walker Kessler makes sense. Look at Jared Allen, dude. Oh crap, you guys can't. He's so far to the right you can't even see him. Look. That's insane. That's insane. I'm not trying to talk bad about him as a player, but good God, that means there's no set, like there's no give him the ball, he go to work. Like that's bad. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, I do expect the cuts to increase quite a bit. But most importantly, I expect the efficiency rate to be even higher with someone like Chris Paul. And what's most impressive about these two and their efficiency rates being up there with Duran, with Walker Kessler, as far as just, pure efficiency, is they didn't have a point guard, right? Like, I mean, we have one point guard. We have Trey Jones, and Trey Jones did a fine job this season, but there is no main point guard on this team, and they still managed to have pretty good efficiency there. I mean, amongst their peers, just comparing them to their peers, they did a really great job. Pretty impressive. But yeah, I think it's gonna be it. Oscar says Zach Collins is a good backup center in my eyes. He brings a sense of grit whenever he plays sometimes. Wish his three-point shot was better though, for how often he was shooting threes last year. Well, I don't know if you saw this, Oscar, but I don't know. I do so many freaking videos till I get it if you missed it. But I talked about it on a few videos. But actually, Zach Collins, that's what he's been working on primarily this offseason. So it looks as if what the Spurs are going to do is just tell him, hey, we need you to be a shooter, a stretch big. That's what you are. Because last season, he had to take on so many different roles. So, yeah. Maybe his efficiency, his frequency in which how many times he has to cut will decrease. But I still think that his efficiency will increase. But overall, I think that he had to take on too much of a role. When he started as center, it was, hey, can you set up things for other teammates, right? Like, can you set up Wemby? Can you defend the paint? Like, it was just too much he had to do as a starter. And then coming off the bench, it was a whole nother thing. But now it seems like Pop and friends have said, hey, dude, you just need to shoot. Like, that's all we need you to do. Which makes sense. You needed a year under Vic to see what works, right? And I think that it was even more solidified that Victor Wembanyama doesn't actually have to be on the court with another, dominating center or anything like that. Or another, he doesn't need a Twin Tower situation. And I think it was very apparent, and it was on display when he played for France in the Olympics, that even France was like, yeah, Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year, you're coming off the bench, right? Speaking of Rudy Gobert, his efficiency is quite low compared to Wemby and the amount of cuts that he takes. Zach Collins is a destitute man's Sabonis. He's not as bad as casual fans make him out to be. Man is a focal point in the offense that don't require him to score. Yeah, I agree. I've always said I think Zach Collins gets a little bit too much hate, and that's unfortunate. But yeah, he's going to be really good next season, I think. Especially when he just has to work on three-point shoot. Like, that's all he's been doing all offseason, just shooting. And then the addition of obviously Chris Paul, Stephon Castle, he should get some better looks. We have more weapons this season. Harrison Barnes is going to help as well. Because Harrison Barnes, what was Harrison Barnes' three-point shooting last season? You guys don't know right off the bat, do you? Let's see. I need to say stats. Google won't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, nearly 40% last season. Like, yeah, we're going to be pretty good. There's a lot of weapons on this team. He hasn't shot under 48% from three since 2017. Well, I guess you can count 2022, 23. He shot 37%. So we can say he hasn't shot under 37% since 2017. His whole career. Lowest percentage from three from Harrison Barnes is 34.7. Guys, we are about to cook. Castle passing the easy post-ups to Collins of the bench. It's going to be crazy. I think Sohan got way too much hate this year for the point forward role he was primarily in during the start of the season. The way he improved from his first year to second year was impressive, but it was overshadowed by the early experiment in the season. I completely agree. Yeah, it's unfortunate that happened. But I do think a lot of people, it's because we have Wembanyama, but I think a lot of people are quite short-sighted with that, because I did see an improvement from him, even in a playmaking standpoint as the season went on. I thought that he was keeping his head up. I thought that he was making better reads than he did his first season. And like you said, he improved just overall, right? Three-point shooting improved. And him breaking 30% at all is a big deal for him, because that is someone that is not a three-point shooter. He's never been a shooter. He's never been a scorer like that. I wanted him in that draft, even with the idea that he'll never be a great shooter, because there's so many other things that he brings. But you're completely right. He does get too much hate. A lot of players on our team gets too much hate. I do think Keldon Johnson is warranted at times. I mean, I think that's warranted at times. I don't think anybody's like overly mean about Keldon, because everyone loves Keldon. But yeah, Zach Collins gets too much hate, I think. Jeremy Sohan gets too much hate. The reason Sohan got so much hate was because the Spurs were finally getting attention and only wanted to see Wemby. Casual fans never heard of Sohan until we got Wemby. Yeah, and also Sohan is he's the guy around the league that, oh, he's the one who dyed his hair. He's the one that talked trash about Russell Westbrook, right? So I think that was a big part of it too. They're like, who does this guy think he is? He talked bad about LeBron. He's always getting in fights. And then now we're on display, and people can't really see the nuances of his game and how impressive he truly is at that size. They're just, they just call it off as, oh, look at his stats. He only had 10 points tonight or whatever. Everyone was hype about Sohan. When we first got him, yeah. They were. They were hype about him. Everyone praised Sohan his first year. It's just the addition of Wemby and having more eyes on you that people started coming in and saying, like, Sohan isn't that good. I don't know if it was the same group of people or not. It might have been like the other chatter brought up. Like, it could have just been, other fans coming in to say something crazy. So I hated the point Sohan experiment, because I thought he always was shaky with the ball down the stretch. We should have had games that Trey finished as the point guard instead of taking him out last minute. I'll be real with you. Once we transitioned to Trey Jones being the point guard, we still were losing games. I just don't think that it would have resulted in a lot of wins like people sometimes say. And also, if you were going to experiment, this will be the year to do it. And I do think that it helped, at least his development. I do appreciate the development he gained afterwards. Yeah. Good stuff. But anyways, yeah, I think Zach Collins deserves a little bit more love. Okay, a little bit more love. And yeah, I actually wasn't expecting him to be this stable as far as cuts. That's really impressive, especially without a true point guard. Really, I mean, we got Trey Jones, like I said, but good stuff.